So let's start with today's past paper for A2 Physics. This is A2 Physics, May June 2025, paper 4, variant 2, 2 hours का paper. And this is some data points. यहाँ पे कुछ data points given हैं. Then we have some formulas, then some more formulas. Let's move on to the first question. Define radian. What is radian? Angle subtended subtended at the center of the circle, angle subtended at the center of the circle, at the center of the circle, when arc length, or when you can say when linear displacement, that is the s, is equal to the radius, that is r. Beta, we have studied this formula. S is equals to r theta. When S and R become equal, जब S और R की value same हो जाएंगी, that means your angle subtended at the center is equals to 1 radians. Theta is equals to 1 radians. Let's further move ahead. The rear wheel and the paddles of a bicycle are connected by a chain that passes over two cogs. Okay, as shown in figure 1.1. Okay. The small cog has a radius of 0.03 meters. Where is the small cog? This one. Okay. And is fixed to the rear wheel so that it rotates with it. The large cog has a radius of 0.15 meter. Okay. Large cog का radius क्या है? 0.15 meter. Okay. And is fixed to the pedal so that it rotates with them. Okay. The rear wheel has a radius of 0.46 meter. Rear wheel has a radius of 0.46 meter. Okay. The bicycle is being pedaled so that it moves in a straight line at a constant speed of 17. Okay. Calculate the angular speed of the rear wheel. You have to calculate the angular speed W of the rear wheel. कौन से वाले व्हील की एंगुलर स्पीड निकालनी है? रेयर व्हील की. ओके. द रेडियस ऑफ द रेयर व्हील इज 0.46. The bicycle is being pedaled at a speed of what? 17. This is your V. This is your R. Can you calculate W? Yes. We remember a formula. V is equals to RW. Velocity क्या है बेटा? 17. R is 0.46. Can you calculate the W? Yes. 17 divided by 0.46. What does your W comes out to be? Let's calculate it. 17 divided by 0.46. W comes out to be 36.9 radians per second. If you want to write it till two significant figures, this becomes 37 radians per second. Simple, nothing complicated here. We literally have done nothing complicated here. Let's further move ahead. Let's move ahead. Now you have to calculate the time period T of the rotation of the small cog. Okay, now here you have to realize one thing. You have to calculate the time period for the rotation of the small cog. Please, please, please realize one thing. Can you realize that the small cog is mounted on the rear wheel? Beta small cog किस पे mounted है? Rear wheel पे. That means the angular velocity of the rear wheel will be equal to what? Angular velocity of the small cog. Do you have the angular velocity of the small cog? Yes, 37. Sorry, do you have the angular velocity of the rear wheel? Yes. Can you calculate the angular velocity of the small cog? It will be the same as the angular velocity of the rear wheel. That is 37. What is W equal to? W is equal to 2 pi over capital T is equal to 37. Can you calculate the time T? Yes. 2 pi divided by 37 is equal to time T. What does your time T comes out to be? 2 pi divided by answer. This comes out to be 0.17 seconds is equals to your W. Is equals to your time period. Sorry. 0.17 seconds is equals to your time period. That means both the small cog and the rear wheel are performing one oscillations in 0.17 seconds. Okay. Show that the distance moved by point x on the chain during one full rotation of the small cog is this. Actually, point x क्या this is point x. Okay. You have to calculate the distance moved by point x when the small cog performs one revolution. Now, if you realize, अगर small cog एक one revolution perform कर रहा है, what distance will the small cog cover? If the small cog is performing one revolution, what distance will it cover? It will cover the distance equal to the circumference of the small cog, that is 2 pi r. What is the radius of the small cog? 0.038. So let's write it here. The distance will be equal to the circumference 2 pi r. The radius is equals to what? 0.038. Okay. 0.038. Can you calculate the answer? 038. This comes out to be 0.24 meters. Simple. Use the information in B part 3 to determine the angle through which the large cog rotates during one full rotation of the small cog. Okay. Now, you have to tell by what angle. See, क्या पूछ रहा है एग्जाम में? You have to determine by what angle will the large cog rotate during one full revolution of the small cog. Just sit back and relax. Now, if the small cog is moving a total distance equal to the circumference, that is equal to 0.24 meters, the large cog will also move a distance of what? The large cog will also move a distance equal to 0.24 meters. Do we know the radius of the large cog? Yes, 0.15. Can I apply a formula here? S is equal to r theta. I know the curve displacement or the linear displacement that the large cog is performing. I know the radius of the large cog. Can I calculate the theta? Yes. You will apply S is equals to r theta. S is what? 0.24. The radius is what? 0.15. Can you calculate theta? 0.24 divided by 0.15 is equals to your theta. Can you calculate the answer of theta? Theta comes out to be 1.6 radians. Is everything clear up till now? Because the next question is a little tricky. Is everything clear up till now? The chain of the bicycle, okay, is now moved onto a smaller cog fixed to the rear wheel. Sir, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this, sir? By this, beta, I basically mean that you now have a smaller cog here. Let's say this is your smaller cog. This is a smaller cog. Let's erase this. This is a smaller cog. Okay. If your cog has become smaller, what does this mean? If your cog has become smaller, what does this mean? This basically means that the radius of the cog will drop. Okay, let's see. Okay. The speed of the bicycle does not change. Okay. Explain without calculation the effect of this change on the angular speed of the pedal. Okay. Now you are using a smaller cog. You have to now explain what will happen to the angular speed of the pedals. If you realize if the radius of the small cog is decreasing, बेटा अगर ये रेडियस डिक्रीज हो रहा है, लेट्स से 0.038 से 0.02 हो रहा है, What does this mean? If the radius decreases, let's do one thing here. If the radius decreases, the distance covered or the circumference of the small cog decreases. Hence, the distance traveled by x decreases. If the distance traveled by x decreases, what will happen? हाँ जी, अगर distance traveled by x decrease होगा तो what will happen? The distance or the angle covered, this theta by the larger cog will decrease. If the angle covered by the larger cog decreases, what will happen to angular velocity or angular speed? It will also decrease. So, how will you write this answer? You will say, as radius decreases, the distance moved by x, the distance moved by x decreases. The distance moved by x in the same time the distance moved by x in the same time decreases. As distance decrease, the angle theta covered by the larger cog decreases, and hence angular speed of larger cog or W of larger cog decreases. Got it, sir? Perfect. चलो, let's move ahead. Let's further move ahead. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's further move ahead. ठीक है, अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now let's see question number 2. Let's move ahead. State what is represented by a gravitational field line. You have to tell what is represented by a gravitational field line. Always remember the gravitational field lines tells you the direction of force on a point mass. The gravitational field line always tells you the direction of force acting on a unit mass, or you can say point mass, whatever you want. The earth may be considered to be a uniform sphere as shown in figure 2.1. Okay, so this is the earth. On figure 2.1, draw field lines to represent the earth's gravitational field outside the earth. How do we draw the gravitational field lines of earth? First of all, always remember that the lines will be radial. बेटा अर्थ की जब आप ग्रेविटेशनल फील्ड लाइंस बनाओगे, the gravitational field lines will be radial like this. Obviously, this drawing software is pretty bad, but I will try my best to draw the radial lines. And all the lines will be pointing inward like this. All the lines will be pointing inward. Why? Hanji, why will all the lines be pointing inward like this? Why do you think all the lines are pointing inward? Hanji, because gravitational field is attractive. Gravitational field is always attractive. You can write here. Gravitational field is always attractive. That's why sari ki sari line इनवर्ड्स पॉइंट कर रही होंगी बेटा. चलो, लेट्स मूव अहेड. Okay. The Earth's magnetic field may be considered as being due to the Earth acting as a long solenoid as shown in figure 2.2. Okay, so Earth has a magnetic field as well. Okay. The magnetic poles do not align with the geographical poles, okay, which are on the axis of rotation. Okay, perfect. Figure 2.3 is a copy of figure 2.2 without the labels but with two magnetic field lines shown. Okay, so we have two magnetic field lines shown. So the field lines are going into this pole and the field lines are coming out of this pole. Okay. On figure 2.3, label the magnetic poles with the letters north and south to indicate which one of them is the north pole and which one of them is the magnetic south pole. बेटा आपने मैग्नेट का नॉर्थ और साउथ पोल बताना है. यू हैव टू टेल द मैग्नेट का नॉर्थ एंड साउथ पोल. अर्थ का नॉर्थ एंड साउथ पोल नहीं बताना. You have to tell the magnet का north and south pole. Can you realize magnetic fields are coming out of this pole? This becomes the north pole. Magnetic fields are going into this pole. This becomes the south pole. बेटा यहाँ पे एक कॉमन मिस्टेक जो स्टूडेंट्स ने की थी वो क्या की थी? वो अर्थ का नॉर्थ और साउथ पोल बता के आगे थे. आपने अर्थ का नॉर्थ और साउथ पोल नहीं बताना. यू हैव टू टेल द नॉर्थ एंड साउथ पोल ऑफ द मैग्नेट. चलो, अगर मैं आपको कहता हूं अर्थ का नॉर्थ और साउथ पोल मार्क करो. दिस इज द अर्थ का नॉर्थ पोल, दिस इज द अर्थ का साउथ पोल. दिस इज व्हाट मोस्ट स्टूडेंट डिड एंड लॉस्ट देयर मार्क्स. आपने मैग्नेट का नॉर्थ और साउथ बताना है. ठीक है. On figure 2.3, draw field lines to represent Earth's magnetic field outside the Earth. Now you have to draw magnetic field lines for Earth. Okay. What will you do? Magnetic field lines emerge from the north. They go inside the south like this. The magnetic fields emerge from the north. They go into the south like this. Let me draw a much better diagram. Really bad at drawings. I don't know when I will learn things. Okay. This is your magnetic field from north to south. Basically a butterfly pattern if you want to say that. Okay. An observer moves around the surface of Earth. Okay. So there is an observer who moves around the surface of Earth. Okay. Use your answer to A part 2. Okay. You have to use your answer to what? A part 2. You have to use this answer. Okay. Use your answer to A part 2 to explain why the observed gravitational field of the Earth does not vary around the surface. बेटा देखो किसकी बात हो रही है. We have to tell why the observed gravitational field strength does not vary around the surface. हाँ जी. जो आपकी ग्रेविटेशनल फील्ड है वो अराउंड द अर्थ सरफेस वेरी क्यों नहीं कर रही. हाँ जी. What will you say? First of all, you can say that the field lines are perpendicular to the surface. You can say all the field lines are making a 90-degree angle like this with the surface. All of them. Hence, they are evenly spread out. बेटा सारी की सारी लाइंस एक 90 डिग्री का एंगल बना रही हैं with the surface. Hence, they are evenly spread out. Hence, the gravitational field strength does not vary around the surface. Let's write this answer. You can say the gravitational field lines. The gravitational field lines are perpendicular to the surface and evenly spread out. And evenly spread out. Hence, the observed gravitational field strength. Gravitational field does not vary around the surface. Simple. Okay. With reference to your answer in B part 2, describe how the observed magnetic field of the earth varies around the surface. अच्छा जी. बेटा with reference to this answer हमने बताना है how does the magnetic field varies outside the earth's surface. With reference to your answer in B part 2, explain how the earth's magnetic field varies around the surface. You have to tell magnetic field around the earth's surface किस तरह vary कर रही है. First of all, first and foremost, you have to realize, if I zoom in a bit here. So if I zoom in a bit here, can you realize the magnetic field will be strongest at the poles? Magnetic field in poles पे सबसे ज्यादा strong होगी. And magnetic field will be the weakest near the equator because that is far away from the magnet. Also, if you realize, magnetic field is perpendicular at the poles and it is parallel to the surface at the equator. So you can write all these four key points. You can say, आप यहाँ पे कह सकते हो बेटा that magnetic field magnetic field is the strongest at the poles. Magnetic field is the strongest at the poles and weakest near the equator. Near the equator. Moreover, the magnetic field, the magnetic field is perpendicular to the surface at the poles and and magnetic field is parallel to the surface near the equator. Near the equator. ठीक हो गया. Let's move ahead. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now you have to define specific heat capacity. What is the specific heat capacity? Specific heat capacity is the energy required per unit per unit mass to bring about a unit change in temperature. To bring about a unit change in temperature. Easy. Let's further move ahead. Okay. A block of aluminium has a volume of this. बेटा एक block of aluminium है जिसका volume ये है. Is at a temperature of 0 degree centigrade. Okay. Aluminium has a density of this at 0 degree centigrade. Perfect. Aluminium has a density of 2.6 to 10 raised to the power of 3 at 500 degrees centigrade. Okay, let's highlight that as well. The block is heated so that its temperature increases from 0 to 500 degrees centigrade at an atmospheric pressure of 1.01 into 10 raised to the power of 5. The increase in internal energy is 4.38 megajoules. Okay. You have to calculate the mass of aluminum. You realize, have we studied this formula? Density is equals to mass over volume. Density is equals to what? Density is equals to mass over volume. Do you remember this formula? Obviously, this is a grade 8 formula, not that difficult. Now, if you have to calculate the mass, अगर आपने mass निकालना है, what will you do? You will take the density multiplied by the volume to calculate the mass. Now, please, for the love of God, आपने density और volume same temperature पे लेना है. If you are taking the density at 0 degree centigrade, you will take the volume as well at 0 degree centigrade. Density क्या है 0 degree centigrade पे? 2.7, 10 raised to the power of 3. What is the volume at 0 degree centigrade? 3.612, 10 raised to the power of minus 3. What does your mass comes out to be? Mass किसके equal आ रहा है बच्चों? Calculate the mass. Let me do that for you guys. Second, is this 2700 or 2.7? No, 2.7. ठीक है. 2.7, 10 raised to the power of 3 into 3.612 into 10 raised to the power of minus 3. The answer for mass comes out to be 9.8 kgs. Simple as that. If you want to write it till two significant figures. If you want to write it till three significant figures, the answer comes out to be 9.75 kgs. Both of them are acceptable in the examinations. Let's further move ahead. Now you have to calculate the volume of the block at a temperature of 500 degrees centigrade, and you have to show that the volume at 500 degrees centigrade is this. Again, same formula. You will say density is equals to mass over volume. Let's make volume the subject. बेटा volume को left side पे ले जाओ. Volume is equals to mass over density. क्या आपने मास ऑलरेडी निकाल लिया? यस 9.75. नाउ हियर इज द कैच. बेटा आपने वॉल्यूम निकालना है एट 500 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड. So you will take the density at 500 degree centigrade as well. That is 2.62, 10 raised to the power of 3. Divide कर दो. 2. Oh. What does your density comes out to be? 2.62, 10 raised to the power of 3. Divide कर दो. 2.62, 10 raised to the power of 3. Can you calculate the volume? 9.75, 2.62, 10 raised to the power of 3. This comes out to be what? 3.722, 10 raised to the power of minus 3. Simple. Use the information in B part 2 to determine the magnitude of work done on the block when its temperature is raised from 0 degree centigrade to 500 degrees centigrade. Now, there are two things that you need to focus on here. You have to determine the magnitude of work done on the block. आपने क्या निकालना है बेटा? Work done on the block. Now, please listen to me for the next 5 minutes. There is no formula to calculate work done on the block directly. आप वर्क डन ऑन द ब्लॉक डायरेक्टली नहीं कैलकुलेट कर सकते. व्हाट कैन यू डू? यू कैन फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कैलकुलेट वर्क डन बाय द ब्लॉक. प्रेशर इनटू चेंज इन वॉल्यूम. प्रेशर इनटू द फाइनल वॉल्यूम माइनस इनिशियल वॉल्यूम. बेटा प्रेशर क्या था? व्हाट वाज योर प्रेशर हियर? प्रेशर वाज 1.0110 is the power of 5. Okay, let's place it here. 1.01 10 raised to the power of 5. What is the final volume? Final volume क्या था? हाँ जी बच्चों, फाइनल वॉल्यूम क्या था हमारा? अभी निकाला है ये रहा. 3.722 10 raised to the power of minus 3. 3.722 10 raised to the power of minus 3. What was the initial volume? Initial volume was 3.612 10 raised to the power of minus 3. 3.612 10 raised to the power of minus 3. Can you calculate work done by the block? Work done by the block निकाल सकते हो? Yes. This comes out to be 11.1 joules. Now you must also remember that work done by the block को, if you put a negative sign here, this will give you work done on the block. If you take the negative of work done by the block, you will get the positive work done on the block. So let's take this as a negative. Work done on the block comes out to be negative 11.1 joules. Negative 11.1. But here, if you realize one thing, you just have to state the magnitude. तो आपने नेगेटिव साइन इग्नोर करना है 11.1 आपने लिख दिया. Now there are several key points that I have told you for this question. First of all, work done on the block directly नहीं निकाल सकते. You have to calculate work done by the block, then take a negative sign to calculate work done on the block. Here you just had to state the magnitude, so you will ignore the negative sign, just state the value. Okay. Explain whether the work done on the block is positive or negative. You will say it is negative. बेटा वर्क डन ऑन द ब्लॉक क्या है? नेगेटिव है. बेटा वर्क डन ऑन द ब्लॉक क्या है? नेगेटिव है. Now, why is this negative? Why is this negative? Always, always, always remember, for work done on the gas, if you are undergoing expansion, अगर आपका ब्लॉक expand कर रहा है, गैस expand कर रही है, it will be negative. And if you are undergoing compression, your work done on the block, on the gas will be positive. Now, अगर आप थोड़ा सा realize करो, if you realize a little, आपका final volume क्या है? This is your final volume, 3.72. What is your initial volume? Your initial volume is this 3.621. 612. Can you realize your volume has increased? Final volume is much greater than the initial volume. If that is the case, you are undergoing expansion. Whenever you are undergoing expansion, your work done on the gas will always be negative. So you will say, since volume of the block increases, since volume of the block increases, work done on the gas will be what? Work done on the gas will be negative. Yeah, work done on the block will be negative. Work done on the block will be negative. Simple. Use the first law of thermodynamics to determine to three significant figures the value for the specific heat capacity of aluminum. You have to determine a value for a specific heat capacity. Explain your reasoning. You have to explain your reasoning as well. Okay, you have to explain your reasoning. And what? You have to explain your reasoning and give a unit for your answer. Shabash. तो बेटा फर्स्ट लॉ ऑफ थर्मोडायनेमिक्स क्या होता था? डू यू रिमेंबर? यस, चेंज इन इंटरनल एनर्जी इज इक्वल्स टू Q प्लस वर्क डन ऑन द गैस. बेटा चेंज इन इंटरनल एनर्जी क्या है? व्हाट इज चेंज इन इंटरनल एनर्जी? 4.38 मेगा जूल्स. सो यू कैन राइट इट हियर. Change in internal energy is 4.38 10 raised to the power of 6 megajoules. Okay. What is Q? You don't know. What is work done on the gas? अभी निकाला था negative 11.1. Okay. Negative 11.1. Take this to the left side. 4.38 10 raised to the power of 6 plus 11.1 is equals to your Q. अब बेटा Q किसके इक्वल होता था? डू यू रिमेम्बर? Q is equals to MC delta T. Let's write it here. Uh, 4.38 into 10 raised to the power of 6 plus 11.1 is equals to MC delta T. What do you have to calculate? There's a specific heat capacity C. आपने ये निकालना है. What is the mass of aluminum? What is the mass of aluminum? Are we given the mass? Oh, we have calculated. 9.75 is the mass of aluminum. Okay. And what is the change in temperature of aluminum? Aluminum is going from 0 degree centigrade to 500 degree centigrade. What is the change in temperature? 500 degree centigrade. Okay. So you can basically now solve 4.38 into 10 raised to the power of 6 plus 11.1 divided by mass, that is 9.75, into delta temperature, that is 500. What does your specific heat capacity comes out to be? Hanji, can you calculate the specific heat capacity by putting it into the calculator? Specific heat capacity क्या आती है? Specific heat capacity comes out to be 898 joules per kg degree centigrade. 898 joules per kg degree centigrade. Without further calculation, suggest with a reason how doubling the pressure in B is likely to affect the answer in B part 5. बेटा एग्जामिनर कह रहा है कि अगर आप प्रेशर को डबल कर दोगे इन बी, हाउ विल दैट अफेक्ट द आंसर इन बी पार्ट 5? नाउ लिसन केयरफुली. इफ यू डबल द प्रेशर, प्रेशर कौन सा? ये वाला. इफ यू डबल दिस प्रेशर, लाइक लेट्स से यू मल्टीप्लाई दिस प्रेशर बाय 2. अगर आप प्रेशर को डबल कर दोगे, दिस विल गेट मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 2. योर वर्क डन ऑन द गैस विल गेट मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 2. ओके. If your work done on the gas gets multiplied by 2, यहाँ पे भी ये multiplied by 2 हो जाएगा. But can you humbly realize that this is a very negligible amount? ये work done on the gas is very very negligible compared to the change in internal energy. Change in internal energy is in 10 raised to the power of 6. और ये work done तो 11.1 into 2 है. That's very less compared to the change in internal energy. Hence क्या होगा? The specific heat capacity will remain unchanged. What can you write here? Although work done on the gas will double, but the increase is negligible. Increase is negligible compared to the change in internal energy. Hence, specific heat capacity remains unchanged. Remains unchanged. आ गई बात समझ? Any confusion here you can ask. Anything that confuses you here, you can ask right away. पूछ सकते हो without any hesitation. Is this clear, Amna? All good. Nope, all clear. Chalo, Alhamdulillah. That's good. That's good. Chalo, let's further move ahead. Now, let's see question number 4. The equation of a state for an ideal gas may be written as PV into A is equals to NBT. Okay, where P is the pressure of the gas, V is the volume of the gas, A is the Avogadro's constant, B is another constant, and N is the number of molecules of the gas. Okay. State the meaning in the equation of the symbol T. T is thermodynamic temperature. T क्या है बेटा? Thermodynamic temperature. Now you have to tell the value of B. How can you tell the value of B? Do you remember this formula? PV is equals to NKT. How can you substitute K? K किसके equal होता है? Boltzmann constant. Molar gas constant divided by the Avogadro's constant. Na. PV is equals to N R divided by Na into T. Bring this to the left side. PV Na is equals to nRT. What is equal to the value of V? R, that is the molar gas constant. Let's write it here. Molar gas constant. Simple, simple, nothing complicated here. Oh, I have forgotten to written molar gas constant. Okay. Let's further move ahead. The product PV for an ideal gas is also given by this equation. Okay. Uh, State the meaning in this equation of the symbol M and Cu square. What is the meaning of M? It is the mass of one molecule of an ideal gas. It is the mass of one molecule of the gas. What is Cu square? Cu square is the mean square speed of gas molecules. Simple. Now, use the equation in part A and the equation in part B to drive an expression in terms of A, B, and T for the mean kinetic energy of a gas molecule. Okay. So, first of all, equation 1 को नीचे कॉपी कर लेते हैं. PV A is equals to N. Oh, sorry, it is capital NBT. Okay. Capital NBT. Okay. And what is the second equation? PV is equals to 1. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's make PV the subject here. PV is equals to NBT over A. This is your first equation. This is your second equation. Can you realize PV is equals to 1 over 3 NMCU square? Let's substitute it here. 1 over 3 NMCU square is equals to NBT divided by A. Is anything getting cancelled out? Yes, for sure. Capital N gets cancelled out. 3 gets multiplied towards the right side. MC square is equals to 3BT divided by A. बेटा काइनेटिक एनर्जी किसके इक्वल होती है? Yes, do you guys remember? Kinetic energy is equals to half MC square. So what can you do? Divide both sides by 2. Half MC square is equals to 3 to BAT. This entire thing is equals to the kinetic energy. Hence, kinetic energy is equals to 3BT over 2A. Simple as that. Nothing complicated here. Let's further move ahead. On figure 4.1, sketch the variation with time t of the root mean square speed of the molecules of an ideal gas. Okay. So you have to draw a graph of CRMS versus temperature. Very, very easy. Kinetic energy is equals to what? 3 over 2 kT. Kinetic energy की क्या equation होती है? 1/2 mc square is equals to 3 over 2 kT. 2 cancel out. Bring mass to the other side. Cu square is equals to 3 km into T. Can you realize 3k over m is a constant value? You can replace it with a direct proportionality sign. Now you have to plot CRMS, root mean square speed, on the y-axis. So what will you do? Take square root on both sides. If you take square roots on both sides, what will happen? Under root c square, under root temperature, under root c square क्या हो जाएगा? CRMS, under root temperature. So you have to plot CRMS on the y-axis, temperature on the x-axis. You will have to draw a graph of y is directly proportional to under root x. Whenever you have to draw a graph of y is equals to under root x, how will you draw the graph? Somewhat like this. Easy. Let's move further. Let's move on to question number 5. What is meant by simple harmonic motion? Now, I am not writing the definition of this. Simple harmonic motion का क्या मतलब होता है? Acceleration is directly proportional to displacement, and acceleration and displacement are in opposite direction. याद रहेगी ये बात. Simple harmonic motion की definition क्या होती है? Acceleration and displacement are directly proportional to each other, and acceleration is always in opposite direction to the displacement. If you write these two key points, you will get full 2 on 2 here. I am not writing it here. You can copy it from the marking scheme. Okay. A block is suspended by a spring. The block oscillates vertically with simple harmonic motion. The velocity v of the block varies with time according to this formula. Okay, so this is the equation of velocity. Calculate the period of the oscillation. बेटा वेलोसिटी की इक्वेशन किस तरह लिखी जाती थी? v इज इक्वल टू v नॉट कोसाइन w t. कैन यू रियलाइज w इज इक्वल टू व्हाट? w इज इक्वल टू 16. so you can say w is equal to 16. 2 pi over t is equal to 16. टाइम पीरियड किसके इक्वल आ जाएगा? 2 pi divided by 16. what does your answer comes out to be? Your answer comes out to be 0.39 seconds is your time period. Simple, nothing complicated here. बहुत easy. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now you have to calculate x naught, amplitude of the oscillation. How will you do that? Can you realize 0.56 is equals to v naught? Okay, you can say 0.56 is equals to v naught. v नॉट किसके इक्वल हो जाएगा? x नॉट इंटू डब्ल्यू इज इक्वल टू 0.56. w की वैल्यू निकाल चुके हैं हम. w इज इक्वल टू 16. what will your x naught come out to be? 0.56 divided by 16. what does your x naught comes out to be? हाँ जी, x naught किसके इक्वल आता है? any ideas? x naught comes out to be 0.035 meters. Easy. This is your time period. Okay. Use your answer in B part 2 to determine an equation for V in terms of displacement x of the block, where V is in meters per second and x is in meters. Okay. बेटा आपको ये इक्वेशन याद है? V is equals to plus minus W under root x naught square minus x square. Do we have the value of W? Yes, 16. Do we have the value of x naught? Yes, 0.035. Velocity v is equals to plus minus 16 under root 0.035 का square minus x square. This will be your equation. इतनी आसान है. Literally सिर्फ ये वापस लिखने के आपको एक मांगेगा. Okay. Let's further move ahead. On figure 5.1, sketch the variation of velocity v with x. Okay. What is the velocity की equation? Plus minus 16 under root 0.035 square minus x square. Now please remember the next two key points. At the mean position, always remember your x displacement is 0, velocity is maximum. बेटा हमेशा हमेशा याद रखो मीन पोजीशन पे क्या होता है? डिस्प्लेसमेंट x 0 हो जाती है, वेलोसिटी मैक्सिमम हो जाती है. व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम वेलोसिटी? 0.56. ओके, so where can I locate 0.56? Let's zoom in a bit. So this is 0.4, this is 0.8. You are covering how many units? 0.4 units in 10 boxes. एक बॉक्स इसके इक्वल होगा 0.04. So somewhere here will be 0.56 and this will be negative 0.56. So at the mean position, बेटा मेन पोजीशन पे आपकी वेलोसिटी आइदर पॉजिटिव मैक्सिमम हो सकती है और नेगेटिव मैक्सिमम हो सकती है. यू कैन mark these two green points. Secondly, at the extreme positions. At what? At the extreme positions. क्या होता है? Displacement is equals to the amplitude या maximum displacement and velocity becomes zero. Beta, what is the maximum displacement? What is x naught? Can anyone tell me? 0.035 meters. X naught is equals to 0.035 meters. Can you convert it into centimeters? Yes, 3.5 centimeters. Okay, so at 3.5 centimeters, यहाँ पे गौर करते हैं. At 3.5 centimeters, your velocities will be zero. Can you connect these graphs to make something? Can you connect these points to make a graph like this? Obviously, it's pretty accurate if I take in account my bad drawing skills. Yeah, this is a very accurate graph. You will have an oval shaped graph like this. You have to remember these two key points at the mean position. Your velocity is maximum, displacement is zero. At the extreme position, your velocity is zero. Displacement can either be positive or negative maximum. Is this entire thing clear as well? हाँ जी, is this entire thing clear? कोई मसला है यहाँ पे? You can ask right up पे. Please re-explain. Yeah, obviously. Okay. This last part, this part 4. Yep, the graph. Okay. So just remember one simple fact. Just remember one simple fact, or two simple facts, I would say. So, this is your velocity equation that takes into account displacement. You have to remember just two facts. क्या चीजें आपने remember करनी है? At the mean position. What is the mean position? Mean position is basically when your displacement x is zero. When your displacement x is zero, your velocity can be either positive or negative maximum. What is your maximum velocity? 0.56. Okay. When your displacement is zero, you are at the mean position. Your velocity can either be positive 0.56 or negative 0.56. If you realize here, let me take a different color. This is 0.5, this is 0.8. You are covering how many units? 0.4 units. You are covering 0.4 units in 10 boxes. One box will represent 0.04. So where is 0.56? Here, positive 0.56. This will be negative 0.56. The velocity can either be positive maximum or negative maximum at the mean position. Okay. Now, furthermore, one more key point that you need to remember. At the extreme position, when do extreme positions occur? हाँ जी, extreme positions कब occur करती हैं? When your displacement is equals to x naught. What is x naught here? What is the amplitude here? 0.035 meter. Let's convert it into centimeters. 0.035 meters is equals to 3.5 centimeters. When you are at the extreme position, when x is equals to x naught, your velocity becomes zero. Where will 3.5 centimeters be? Here and here, negative 3.5. Either you have a positive amplitude or a negative amplitude. In both cases, your display velocity will become zero. You have this point and you have this point as well. Can you connect the dots? Yes, you can do that. Like this. Like this. This is it. Is it clear now? Hanji. All good in the graph. Is it clear? Yep. Chal. Let's move ahead. Now let's see question number 6. Two parallel plates X and Y are separated by a distance of 0.041 meter as shown in figure 6.1. Okay. There is a vacuum between the plates. An electron is at rest at the center of plate X. Okay, so here is an electron. Okay. A potential difference of 58 kilovolts is applied across the plate. This causes the electron to accelerate. This causes the electron to accelerate towards plate Y. Beta, electron is a negative charge. Electron is a negative charge. If electron is accelerating towards plate Y must be positive, plate X must be negative. Let's move ahead. On figure 6. This is our first question as well. On figure 6.1, mark with symbols plus and minus to indicate which of the plates X and Y is positive and which is negative. We have done that. Now you have to calculate the electric field strength between the plates. अब electric field strength निकालनी है. How will you do that? Electric field strength is equals to the potential difference divided by the distance. Potential difference क्या है? 58 kilovolts. 58 into 10 raised to the power of 3. Distance क्या है? Between the two plates 0.041. 041. What is the electric field strength? 0.041. This comes out to be, the electric field strength comes out to be 1.4 into 10 raised to the power of 6. 1.4 into 10 raised to the power of 6 Newton Coulomb minus 1. Easy. Nothing complicated. Okay, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now you have to calculate the acceleration of the electron. How will you do that? What is the formula of electric force? Electric force का क्या formula होता है? Electric field strength into the charge. What is the formula of resultant force? Mass into acceleration. Equate both of them. Mass into acceleration is equal to electric field strength into charge. You have to calculate the acceleration. Acceleration is equal to electric field strength into charge divided by the mass. Electric field strength is equal to 1.410 raised to the power of 6 into the charge. What is the charge on an electron? 1.610 raised to the power of minus 19. What is the mass of an electron? 9.11. 10 raised to the power of minus 31. Can anyone calculate the acceleration? Handy, can you calculate the acceleration by putting it into the calculator? Acceleration comes out to be 2.5. 10 raised to the power of 17. Simple, ms minus 2. Let's further move ahead. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Many electrons are now accelerated from rest from plate X to plate Y in figure 6.1. When the electrons hit plate Y, the absorption of their kinetic energy results in the emission of electromagnetic waves. Show that the minimum wavelength of these electrons is 21 picometer. तो बेटा क्या हो रहा है, इलेक्ट्रॉन्स एब्जॉर्ब हो रहे हैं एंड देयर काइनेटिक एनर्जी रिजल्ट्स इन द emission of electromagnetic waves. So what we can say is electric potential energy. Electric potential energy का क्या फॉर्मूला होता है? Potential difference into the charge. This electric potential energy will get converted into the energy of photon, which is equals to hc over lambda. Let's equate both of them. Vq is equals to hc over lambda. You have to calculate the wavelength. Lambda or wavelength is equals to hc over vq. What is h? Planck's constant 6.63, 10 raised to the power of minus 34. What is c? Speed of light 3 into 10 raised to the power of 8. What is the potential difference? Were we provided with the potential difference in the question? Yes, 58 kilowatts. Right, 58 kilowatts here. Okay. 58, 10 raised to the power of 3. What is the charge Q? 1.6 into 10 raised to the power of minus 19. Can you calculate the wavelength? Hanji, can you calculate the wavelength? वेवलेंथ को पोटेंट करो कैलकुलेटर में, क्या आता है? 21 इंटू 10 रेज़ टू द पावर ऑफ माइनस 12 मीटर्स, which is equals to 21 picometers. Okay. State the region of electromagnetic spectrum that contains these waves, X rays. Explain how these electromagnetic waves can be used to form images of internal body structures. बेटा एक्स रेज से हम इंटरनल बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर्स कैसे, इंटरनल बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर्स की इमेजेस कैसे फॉर्म करते हैं यूजिंग एक्स रेज? सो व्हाट विल यू से? एक्स रेज आर hit, yeah, x-rays are passed on into the body structures. X-rays are passed into internal body structures, and the transmitted waves are detected, and the transmitted waves or the transmitted x-rays are detected. Different tissues or different, you can say different body parts or different tissues, you can say different body parts or different, you can say different internal structures absorb different amounts, different amounts, yeah, different intensities, different amounts, yeah, different intensities of x-rays, and an image is formed based on the transmitted x-rays. बेटा ट्रांसमिटेड एक्सरेज की बेसिस पे एक इमेज फॉर्म है, सिंपल. Let's move ahead on figure 7.1. Okay, figure 7.1 shows a circuit containing a capacitor of capacitance C and a resistor of resistance R. Okay, capacitance C का है, ये resistance R का है. Okay. Initially, the switch is open and the potential difference across the capacitor is 12. अच्छा जी, potential difference across the capacitor is 12. The switch is closed at time t is equals to 0. Okay, and the capacitor discharges through the resistor. Okay. Figure 7.2 shows the variation of charge of the capacitor with the potential difference across the capacitor. Okay, so charge versus potential difference का graph given है. Figure 7.3 shows the variation of current in the resistor with the potential difference across the resistor as the capacitor discharges. Okay. State the relationship between voltage across capacitor and voltage across resistor. Both the voltages will be always same. Beta, voltage across capacitor will be the same as the voltage across the resistor. No complications here. Now you have to calculate the capacitance in microfarad. How will you do that? हाँ जी, किस तरह निकालोगे capacitance? If you realize the gradient of charge divided by voltage will give you your capacitance. This is your first point, 0 comma 0. This point will be what? 12 comma. Let's say this is, let's see what this is. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's zoom in a bit. So you are going from 4 to 8 in 10 boxes. आप 4 से 8 जा रहे हो in 10 boxes. So you are covering 4 units in 10 boxes. One box represents what? 0.4 units. This will be 7.2. Why may we have 7.2? Can you calculate the capacitance? Yes. Charge is 7.2 microcoulomb. 7.2 into 10 is the power of minus 3. Divided by the voltage, that is 12. What will your capacitance come out to be? And the capacitance क्या आ जाएगी? 7.2 into 10 is the power of minus 3 divided by 12. This comes out to be 600 into 10 is the power of minus 6. That is 600 microfarads. Simple as that, nothing complicated here. बहुत ही easy कर दिया है. Now let's further move ahead. You have to calculate the resistance. Resistance is equals to voltage over current. हाँ जी, voltage कितना आ रहा है यहाँ पे? 12. Current कितना है बेटा? 1.5 milliampere. Voltage divided by current कर दो. 12 divided by 1.5, 10 is the power of minus 3. What does your resistance comes out to be? 1.5, 10 is the power of minus 3. This comes out to be 8,000 ohms. That can be written as what? 8 kilo ohms. Perfect. Let's further move ahead. Now you have to calculate the time constant of the circuit. Okay. How will you calculate the time constant of the circuit? Time constant is equals to resistance into capacitance. Resistance 8000 थी, capacitance थी 600 microfarads. Can you calculate the time constant? Yes. Time constant comes out to be 4.8 seconds. Easy peasy lemon squeeze. Now, is this clear up till now? Because the next part is a little difficult. यहाँ तक चीजें clear है. Yes or no? Is this clear up till now? Then we move forward. Because the next part is a little tricky. ठीक है. Yes or no? So far so good. Perfect. Chalo. Use figure 7.2, 7.3 and your answer in A to explain why the variation of charge with time is exponential in nature. Okay. So you have to tell using figure 7.2 and 7.3 and your answer in A. Okay. Why the variation of charge with time is exponential in nature. Okay. So first of all, can you realize charge is directly proportional to voltage? Current is also directly proportional to voltage. This means what? Charge is directly proportional to current. So first of all, we can write this. We can write this as our first point. You can say charge and current are both directly proportional to voltage. Charge and current are both directly proportional to voltage. Hence, charge becomes directly proportional to current. Now the fun part begins. देखो बेटा चार्ज क्या हो रहा है डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल हो रहा है टू द करंट व्हाट इज करंट इक्वल टू करंट इज इक्वल टू चेंज इन चार्ज ओवर चेंज इन टाइम charge becomes directly proportional to the rate of charge. That's why charge is exponentially decaying with what? Charge is exponentially decaying with time. क्यों? क्योंकि करंट और चार्ज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल हो गए. करंट इज इक्वल टू व्हाट? करंट इज इक्वल टू द रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ चार्ज. तो चार्ज किसके डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल हो गया? चार्ज इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ चार्ज. Hence, charge decays exponentially with time. And further say, current is the rate of change of charge. Hence, charge becomes directly proportional, directly proportional to the rate of change of charge. Hence, exponential in nature. Perfect. Let's further move ahead. Figure 8.1 shows a circuit that produces rectification of an alternating input voltage. अच्छा जी, rectification हो रही है of an alternating input voltage. The input voltage is sinusoidal. The rectified output voltage is applied across the resistor. Okay. The variation of input voltage with time has an amplitude V naught and time period T as shown in figure 8.2. ठीक हो गया. You have V naught and time period T. Okay. The RMS value of voltage input is 6 volts. State the type of rectification produced by the circuit in figure 8.1. Always remember, if you have one diode in the circuit, अगर आपके सर्किट में एक डायोड है, which type of rectification will you produce? Half wave rectification. Half wave rectification. Now, you have to calculate the value of V naught. कैसे निकालोगे? V naught is equals to VRMS multiplied by under root 2. 6 into under root 2. What will this answer come out to be? This answer किसके इक्वल आ जाएगा? 8.5. 8.5 is your peak voltage. Simple. Let's further move ahead. The resistor R has a resistance of 45 ohms. Okay. There is no potential difference across the diode when it is conducting. Okay. Determine the peak power in the resistor. How will you determine the peak power? Power peak is equals to the voltage peak square divided by R. Voltage peak क्या था? We just calculated it. 8.5. 8.5 का square divided by the resistance, that is 45. Can you calculate the peak power? बच्चों, पावर पीक निकाल सकते हो 1.6. Okay. On figure 8.3, sketch the variation of power in the resistor with time t between time t is equals to 0 and time t is equals to 2t. अच्छा, आपने power versus time graph बनाना. Now, if you realize this is half wave rectification, whenever you have a negative voltage in half wave rectification, what happens? Your voltage becomes 0. Your power will eventually become 0 in this region. हाफ वेव रेक्टिफिकेशन में जब भी आपके पास नेगेटिव वोल्टेज होता है, द वोल्टेज बिकम 0, पावर बिकम 0. व्हेन यू हैव पॉजिटिव वोल्टेज, पावर इज पॉजिटिव, लाइक दिस. P naught this. Okay. Then from time t is equals to capital T till here, you have negative voltage. Hence, your voltage will become 0, power will become 0 again. Okay. Again, in the positive cycle, your power will become P naught. Again, 0. It's perfect. Use the answer in B2 to explain why the mean power in the resistor is 1 over 4 P naught. आपने एक्सप्लेन करना है why your power is 1/4 p. आपने क्या एक्सप्लेन करना है बच्चे? You have to explain why the mean power in the resistor is 1/4 p. And how do you explain that the mean power is 1/4 p not here? What you can start your answer with is you can say the mean power of one loop is equals to half p naught. बेटा आप क्या कह सकते हो? मीन पावर ऑफ वन लूप इज हाफ p naught. Okay. If you have to calculate the mean power of the entire cycle, the mean power in this horizontal line is 0. The mean power of this loop is half p naught divided by 2. Your mean power comes out to be 1/4 p naught. Simple. So you can say the mean power of one loop is half p naught, and the mean power of entire cycle is 1/2 p naught plus 0 divided by 2, that is equals to 1/4 p naught. Is this clear to you? Because this was a little difficult. And is this clear? This was a little difficult because students usually mess this up. All good? Sure. Let's move ahead. You have to determine the VRMS of the output voltage. How will you do that? Power mean is equals to VRMS square divided by resistance. What is power mean? 1/4 of peak power. What is the peak power? Peak power was 1.6. Okay. 1.6 is equals to VRMS the square divided by the resistance. What is resistance? 45. Okay. This is 0.4 into 45 divided by under root is equals to VRMS. What does your VRMS comes out to be? 4.2 is your VRMS. Simple as that. Let's further move ahead. Now, what is meant by photoelectric effect? Would you like to tell photoelectric effect का क्या मतलब होता है? Yes, anyone in the chat. Photoelectric effect का क्या मतलब होता है? Emission of electrons from a metal surface when electromagnetic radiations with a frequency greater than threshold frequency are incident on the surface. So you will write emission of electrons from the surface of metal of metal when electromagnetic radiation of frequency greater than threshold frequency greater than threshold frequency are incident on the metal are incident on the metal. Perfect. Let's further read ahead. The photoelectric effect is investigated in two stages using the circuit shown in figure 9.1. Okay. This is a metal plate. These are electromagnetic radiation, the frequency F. Okay. This results in the emission of electrons. Okay. The polished metal plate Y is illuminated with electromagnetic radiation, the frequency F, and constant power. Okay. In stage 1 of the investigation, the frequency is set to a constant value of 2.5 into 10 raised to the power of 15. Okay. The current in the ammeter is varied by adjusting the potentiometer. Okay, perfect. Figure 9.2 shows the variation of current with voltage reading. There is a Vs of voltage at which the current just falls to zero. Okay. So basically, हो क्या रहा है? In stage 1, what are we doing? We are setting the frequency at a constant value and we are varying the current, and the current reaches a zero value when the voltage is equals to Vs. This is shown in figure 9.2. Here you have it. Okay. In stage 2 of the investigation, stage 1 is repeated for different values of frequency. Okay, so we are doing the same experiment but for different values of frequency. As frequency is varied, the stopping voltage Vs at which current just falls to zero is measured, showing the variation of frequency with voltage. Okay, okay. Explain with reference to photons why Vs depends on the frequency of the incident electromagnetic radiation एक्चुअली बेटा हमने ये बताना है कि ये जो Vs है how does it depends on the frequency of the incident electromagnetic radiation. कुछ याद है फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या डिटरमाइन करती थी? बेटा फ्रीक्वेंसी की जो वैल्यू है वो हमें बताती थी how much energy of a photon has. Hmm. How much energy of a photon have. अच्छा now first of all तो ये जो frequency की value है this used to tell us how much energy does a photon has. ठीक है or energy of a photon used to get divided into two components work function plus the kinetic energy of the electron. हमें इससे बहुत ज्यादा गर्ज है एनर्जी ऑफ अ फोटॉन अगर इंक्रीज होगी तो काइनेटिक एनर्जी ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन भी इंक्रीज होगी if the kinetic energy of electron increases you will require a higher voltage to stop the electrons to cause the current value to fall to zero. ठीक है now हो क्या रहा है when does the current value reach zero एक सेकेंड बेटा करंट की वैल्यू जीरो कब रीच करेगी जब यहाँ पे जो इलेक्ट्रॉन इमिट होंगे यू विल स्टॉप देम बाय व्हाट बाय अ नेगेटिवली चार्ज प्लेट हियर this has a voltage V here. If you keep on increasing this voltage, this negative voltage, the electron will stop, the kinetic energy of electron will become zero. So you can say the current falls to zero when the energy per unit electron, energy per unit per unit charge, when the energy per unit charge of electrons equals Vs. अब थोड़ा सा गौर करो energy of electrons depends on what energy of electron depends on the energy of photon depend energy of electron depends on the energy of photons which in turn is dependent on the frequency of electromagnetic radiation. Of electromagnetic radiation, easy peasy, nothing complicated here. आगे बढ़ते हैं. State 3, quantitative conclusions that can be drawn from the results in figure 9.2 and 9.3. बेटा हमने 3 quantitative numerical based conclusions निकालने हैं from the results in figure 9.2 and 9.3. Okay, let's see figure 9.2 and 9.3. First of all, can you see that before 1.5 की frequency, the stopping voltage is 0? Why? Because 1.5 is your threshold frequency. बेटा थ्रेशोल्ड फ्रीक्वेंसी से पहले तो इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट ही नहीं होंगे. इलेक्ट्रॉन एमिट नहीं होंगे तो आपको स्टॉपिंग वोल्टेज की जरूरत नहीं है. What is your threshold frequency? 1.5 into 10 raised to the power of 15. You can write this here. Threshold frequency is equal to 1.5 into 10 raised to the power of 15 hertz. Now, if you are a little smart, if you use your brain a little, you can also determine the threshold wavelength. बेटा आप threshold wavelength भी निकाल सकते हो. How can you calculate the threshold wavelength? Very easy. V is equals to f lambda. All the photons travel with the speed of what? 3 into 10 raised to the power of 8. Frequency is 1.5 10 raised to the power of 15. Can you calculate the threshold wavelength? Yes. Threshold wavelength is equals to 3 into 10 raised to the power of 8 divided by 1.5 into 10 raised to the power of 15. The threshold wavelength comes out to be what? 2 into 10 raised to the power of minus 7. 2 into 10 raised to the power of minus 7 meters. What else can we conclude here? बेटा और क्या बता सकते हैं हम? Moreover, you can also tell about the work function. Work function किसके इक्वल होता है? H F naught. What is H? 6.63. 10 raised to the power of minus 34. What is F naught? Threshold frequency 1.5 into 10 raised to the power of 15. Can you calculate the work function? Work function equals to 9.9 into 10 raised to the power of minus 19 joules. Simple, you have given 3 numerical conclusions. Work function phi is equals to 9.9 into 10 raised to the power of minus 19 joules. Does this entire thing make sense? Should we move ahead to the last question? Yes. How did you brainstorm for part 1? Let me see. Achha, very easy. Explain with reference to photons why Vs depends on the frequency of the incident electromagnetic radiation. Okay. So बेटा हमने बताना है कि ये voltage, this stopping voltage Vs, how does this depend on the frequency? How does this depend on the frequency? कैसे हमें पता चलेगा कि this depends on the frequency? You have to first realize that the frequency of the incident electromagnetic radiation determine the energy of photon. The energy of photon can be divided into 2 compartments, the work function and the kinetic energy. If the energy of photon increases, the work function remains same, the kinetic energy also increases. If your kinetic energy of electron increases, beta, आपको यहाँ पे एक ज्यादा नेगेटिव वोल्टेज लगाना पड़ेगा to stop the electrons. Hence your Vs will increase. Chalo, let's move ahead. This was a comparatively easier paper. Radioactive decay is a spontaneous process. State the meaning in this context of the term spontaneous. Spontaneous का क्या मतलब होता है? Decay or the radiations are not affected by external environment, you will say. Radioactive decay is not affected by external environments. External environmental factors, you can say. Environmental factors. Okay. Two radioactive isotopes X and Y decay to form a stable isotope. Okay. A sample initially contains only isotope of X. At this time, its activity is 4A. Another sample only contains atoms of Y. At this time, its activity is A. Okay. Figure 10.1 shows the variation of the activity of each sample with time between time t is equal to 0 and 60. Okay. Complete 10.1 to give expression in terms of either or both of A and T for the quantities indicated for each sample. You have to calculate the half-life of X. Initial activity क्या थी 4A. Half life होके क्या हो जाएगी 2A. How much time is it taking for X to go from 4A to 2A? It is taking time 2T. That's why the half life is 2T. For Y, your activity is A. What will be the half of activity? 0.5A. What is the time taken to reach 0.5A? 3T. Okay. So you have half lives as well. Now you have to calculate decay constant. Decay constant किस तरह निकालते थे? ln2 divided by half life. Can we do that? Yes or no? Easiest possible thing on this planet Earth. ln2 divided by 2t. ln2 divided by 3t. Now you have to calculate the initial number of nuclei. How will you calculate the initial number of nuclei? कुछ याद है? Do you remember any formula of activity? Activity is equals to decay constant into the initial number of nuclei. Activity divided by decay constant is equals to n. Okay. What is the activity of what is the activity of hmm, what is the activity of X? 4A. Okay. 4A divided by ln2 divided by 2t. It's get multiplied towards the top side. 8AT divided by ln2 is the initial number of nucleuses of X. You can do the same thing with Y. Y की activity क्या है? A divided by ln2 over 3t. Multiply 3t to the top side. 3AT divided by ln2. Let's further move ahead. Describe in terms of t the time at which two samples which have the equal activities. अच्छा हमने time t की format define करना है when the two samples will have equal activity. कैसे define करेंगे? बहुत 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 easy है. What is the formula of activity? Activity is equals to a naught e minus lambda t. Let's first of all calculate this expression for x. A is equals to 4a e minus what is the value of lambda? ln2 divided by 2t. Okay. ln2 divided by 2t into t. Let's do the same thing for y. A is equals to ae minus ln3 divided by 3t into t. Now, if you want both the activities to be same, क्या करोगे? X की activity को equate कर दोगे to the Y की activity. Let's do that. 4A E minus ln2 divided by 2t into t is equals to A E minus ln3 divided by, oh sorry, ln2, not 3. What am I even doing? This is what A2 physics does to you. ln2 divided by 3t into t. A cancel out. Okay, drop the values of E. Okay, you can basically drop the values of E as well. Or what you can do instead, let's do one more thing. If you are weak at mathematics, if you don't understand mathematics, what you can do is you can take E to the denominator. 3t into t divided by E minus ln2 divided by what? Divided by uh, 3t will come here. Sorry, 2t will. What I have done here, let's choose a much simpler solution. 4e minus ln2 divided by 2t into t is equals to e minus ln2 divided by 3t into t. What will you further do? बेटा आप क्या करोगे? Yes, what can you further do? You can take this entire thing. You can take this entire thing to the denominator here. आप इस पूरी की पूरी चीज को क्या कर सकते हो? डिनोमिनेटर में लेके जा सकते हो. Let's do that. What will happen? 4 is equals to E minus ln2 divided by 3t into t divided by E minus ln2 divided by 2t into t. Take this to the top side. अब इसको top side पे ले जाओ. What will happen? Let's do one more line here. 4 is equals to E minus ln2 divided by 3t into t. Let's zoom out a bit. ये ऊपर जाएगा तो क्या हो जाएगा? प्लस ln2 divided by 2t into t. Okay, what will we further do? Take LCM. Literally take LCM here. Multiplied by 3, multiplied by 3, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2. 4 is equals to E minus 2L. Okay, I will have to zoom in here so that you guys can see the calculation. अच्छा जी, ये क्या हो जाएगा? मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे तो दिस विल बिकम 2L and 2T, or you can do it like this. 2T ln2 divided by 60, okay, plus 3T ln2 divided by 60, okay. प्लस कर दो. 4 is equals to E minus क्या हो जाएगा? T ln2 divided by 60. What can we do? We can bring this power to the left side. Let's bring this power to the left side. 4, this will be plus, okay. 4 is equals to ln2, or you can say E ln2 divided by 60 into small t. What will we further do? We can basically divide this to the left side, or you can say ln and E can get cancelled out. 4 is equals to ln E gets cancelled out. 2t divided by 60. What else is remaining? 24 capital T is equals to 2t. T comes out to be 12t as your answer. Let me explain this complex mathematics again. Okay. So हमने यहाँ पे क्या किया? We first of all took this E minus ln2 divided by 2t towards the left hand side. This becomes your answer. Then we took this entire thing in the numerator. As you took this entire thing in the numerator, ये sign क्या हो गया? Plus हो गया. Then we took LCM, multiplied by 3, multiplied by 3, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2. Minus 2t ln2 plus 3t ln2 divided by 60. 60, okay. Then ln और e cancel हो गया. 2t divided by 60. Multiply 24 capital T is equals to 2t. Small t comes out to be 12t. Okay. A radiation detector is placed close to one of the samples in part B. Explain why the count rate measured by the detector is less than the activity of the sample. This is something that I have taught you in the notes as well. बेटा एक्टिविटी ऑल डायरेक्शंस में मेजर होती है, डिटेक्टर तो ऑल डायरेक्शंस में काउंट रेट नहीं मेजर कर रहा. Also, some radiation might not even reach the detector as they might be observed by the air. First of all, you can say activity is the radiations in all directions. In all directions. Okay. Secondly, आप क्या कह सकते हो? Some radiations might have been might have been absorbed by the air before reaching the detector. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The only complex part that I think that was complex mathematics in this entire A2 paper was this part 2. This is this clear? Any ambiguities here? You can ask right away. This paper is finished.